My friends, welcome to Talk Casual. We're broadcasting live here in the Fly Casual headquarters in the Outer Rim. As always, I'm the Grand Master of Assault, Ariel, or Mars, or whatever you want to call me today. We have 3 special guests tonight. Starting off with our usual regular from down at the bottom, from the outer rim, Andrew. Say hello, Andrew.
G'day, people. Also, Andrew B on Discord.
Correct. Also, our second guest is Lachlan or Relent on Discord. Welcome.
Hello. Back in Rockhampton, all the way up.
Beautiful. And first off, I want to finish off by saying congratulations on your Vassal World Cup runner-up. You've done Australia proud, and I wanted to shout out what a great job you've done there, especially, for all us Australian players in Armada. So job well done there, mate.
Thank you.
And then finally, we have Baden, War Daddy. He was the eventual winner of BrisCon, and we'll discuss that coming up now. So say hello, Baden.
G'day. Thanks for having me.
It's Baden, isn't it? Yeah.
That's it.
Beautiful. Awesome. All right. Let's get on with the program tonight. Let's talk about BrisCon. All right. So I'm just going to transition over now to the results. As you can see here, Baden was first with 34 points. Then it was it David with 29.
Yeah.
Then Barry Russell on 25, and then David Grounds 24. David Huxley 25 points. Yourself, Andrew, on 23. Rod on 20 points. Yourself, Lachlan, on 20 points as well with a lower MOV. And then Stu Gray on 18, Daniel Huxley on 13, Adam Huxley on 13, and then rounding off Robert Russell on 7 points. Right. Now, let's discuss the winning list here. So we've got yourself, and so discuss, tell us what going to this event into BrisCon, what did you think decide on this list going into the event? And first off, tell us about your list as well too. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's just getting it up here.
Yeah.
I pretty much work on the idea of generalization is better than specialization, and like to build lists where I can take anything on rather than one specific fleet. So Imperial 2-class Star Destroyer, of course, is the best all-rounder, and running Moff JJ. I just think Armada is a game much more about maneuvering than it is shooting. And being able to dodge arcs and whatnot is definitely the best defense out there.
Yeah.
So I ran that with the expert shield techs, local fire control, flak guns, countermeasures, SW7s, and LTTs. So expert shield techs and local fire with flak guns for more defense. Yep. Countermeasures for the brace, obviously. SW7s for consistent damage, especially with JJ when you can really get into some special places.
Yeah.
And link turbo lasers for the reroll and the squad assistance.
Nice.
Pretty standard Monteferrat Gladiator setup. Monty, Ordnance Experts, Engine Techs, X-Racks, and Demo.
That's pretty high on very kitted out Glad 1.
It's expensive, but it usually pays for itself over and over.
Right.
Being able to jump on someone and drop, 8 damage on them is really strong, especially if these Star Destroyers already hit them once.
Yeah, like Admiral Montferrat is like one of those optional extras that you don't see a lot, but highly worth it, especially after if you want to reduce damage if you're going hard and fast with him.
Yeah, and it's a lot easier to do with Jurgerod as well, because you can do some funky inside turns, so you're not actually moving at speed or distance 3, I guess you'd say.
Yep.
So it's a lot easier to stay up there, and especially swinging back around after you've already gone past someone.
Yep. Nice.
A Hondo Comsnet Reserve Hangar Gazanti.
Yep.
So pretty generic, just token feeding with the hangar decks for the squadron screen.
Yep.
And the most interesting part's probably the Raider.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's running Iden, Ordnance Experts, Reserve Hangars, X-Racks, and Instigator. It's just to help with heavy squad balls. So the list is weak to heavy squad screens, so it needs something to prop it back up. And I didn't have enough points to put in a solid squad ball, so just 2 interceptors and 2 ties with the reserves.
Yeah.
And then Instigator to really jump into those squadron balls and cause havoc, which is exactly what it did.
Nice. Yeah, because you're like your squadron's just 2 interceptors and 2 TIE fighters, so it's a very light screen, but Raider 1 backs that up quite well, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely. And people don't want to hang around it, so usually they're trying to get away as quick as they can.
Nice, very nice. All right, talk about your matches. How did it go, and how did you see what we fought against there?
Yeah, so round 1, I got matched up with one of the kids that was at the tournament, actually. I think he was 7 or 8. And we had an awesome game. I had a blast. He was such a good sport. Not once was he upset or annoyed, or he was a really, really cool kid to play with. So that ended up with a 10-1, which he took really well.
Yep.
So that was a good game.
And what was he flying? Sorry, just to confirm.
He was flying double Simoons with Gazanti, I think. 1 or 2 Gazantis. I can't quite remember his full list.
That's
with a Valen Sienna screen. The Gladiator, that's right.
Nice.
Yeah, played them well. Probably just rushed in a little bit too hard and let the AEST get into optimal range. But yeah, it was an awesome game.
Nice. So that set you up nice and well for the second round?
Yeah. I'm just trying to find the second.
So second round was Rod France, it says here.
Yep, the Sato list.
Just click where onto. Keep going. Sorry, I was just trying to click onto where you can get the lists coming up.
So yeah, Rod's Sato list, which was a MC 75, either armored or ordnance cruiser.
Yep.
With 2 hammerheads and a flotilla, I think, maybe 3 hammerheads, and a rogue ball with Han Solo, which was really cool to see, and a couple of YTs. So I think he had some issues because he wasn't aware that Rapid 2 wasn't allowed at the tournament. So I think he had some last-minute changes.
Yeah, and that was one of the big things for this coming into the event, that the Rapid Reinforcements was out for that week, but it was just too close to this big event for it to be legal. So Rapid Reinforcements was not valid for this event.
Yeah, I think what he ended up doing, I think he wanted to bring Fenn Rao, and at the last minute, he just points for point swapped it out with Dash.
Right.
Yeah,
because he's got Han Solo, Fenn. Oh, he has Fed Rao on there. So yeah, correct.
Yeah, I remember seeing Dash.
Right. So you had Dash instead. No worries.
Yeah. I think he actually used my Dash mini for the game because he didn't even bring it. That was a good game. I think we played Corona for that one, and he deployed his ships facing across the board, thinking I was going to deploy opposite to him, and I just jumped on the other side, so he was facing away from me and came in and flanked, and that went really well. I think killed a hammerhead per activation in rounds 3 and 4, but the cruiser was just too quick and I couldn't catch it.
Nice. And that was the end of the first day. It was 2 rounds, one first day and 2 rounds the second day. Is that correct?
Yes. Yep.
All right. So your third round opponent was Andrew.
Hey, yes. It was like 6 rounds of pain, pretty much.
It was a good game.
He just talked about, I got to experience. Yeah.
So yeah, Gergerod definitely came in clutch for that game. Essentially, Andrew put Ahsoka and Anakin up on a asteroid where they were obstructed. And Instigator was able to jump straight into range of them and keep them locked down on the asteroid for the whole game. While the squad ball caught up, and I think eventually got both of them.
I think certainly got Ahsoka early. I think Anakin took out the last squad, but then the Raider took out Anakin or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
And the scariest part was the Andrew's Venator with rapid launch bays full of arcs flying towards me. And I was really worried about that. But I think maybe you delayed one round too long in deploying them. And I was able to just shoot through a gap, wipe out the 2 pelters, and then just fly away. I think it survived on like 3 hull or something in the end. And the arcs just weren't quick enough to chase it down.
Yeah, that squadron ball's quite nasty. I had played against him a couple, what was it, last week with an updated version of this list, and just blew away my squadrons like there was no tomorrow. So very nasty.
Yeah, and I can't put Instigator into that squad ball either because Iden can't handle double die bombers. They just tear it apart. So yeah, there was really no option of fighting. So I didn't even shoot the Venator in the end. I just let it fly past and took the easy kills.
Nice, very nice. So that was a 7-4 win by there by the looks of it. 8-3 was it?
8-3, I think that one. Yeah, Rodney, I think was the 7-4.
Right. Okay, and then your final game was Barry Russell, an Imperial list with a Sloan list.
Yeah. So Sloan, I really don't like Sloan. She's pretty scary to play against. Again, Gergerod, I was able to go speed 3 right from the start, and just dove in hard on the Quasar, and it died right at the start of round 3.
Wow.
Yeah, very lucky dice rolls there. The Reds were very kind, but that was huge being able to take it out so quickly. And then Instigator jumped on a station and obstructed itself, and his squad ball couldn't move anywhere. They just had to sit there and get flacked for 3 rounds.
Love it.
Yeah, and my light fighter screen held up. I think they all died in the last round. Actually, they survived the whole round with the hangar decks, the whole game. So that was 40 points of squads plus 60 points of Raider against 134, and it managed to hold out for the whole game. So that was really nice.
Yeah, you did really well, especially for light squadron screen and basically killing the Quasar quite quickly. And that was looks like a 10-1. So, and that made you the winner of the event, so of BrisCon. So congratulations on that one. Job well done. Yeah, well, what do you think of the whole event? This was, I believe, your first BrisCon event.
Yeah, first one. Yeah, it was good. Well run. Some communication issues on starting times and stuff, but I think the TO was under a lot of pressure, and I think he was running 2 or 3 different games with a lot of people. So there was heaps going on there, and in the end, it did run very smoothly. It was all very casual. Everyone was very friendly, so I had a great time.
Fantastic. That's awesome. Andrew, can you, being the Outer Rim representative up in BrisCon, I spent all my tickets going to Worlds this year.
From Chicago.
Yeah, that's it. So I was, housebound. Well, actually, we had our own tournament on the day, so I wasn't housebound, but I was state-bound. So can you give us your run on the BrisCon event and how you saw things?
Yeah, sure. Well, just on the event itself, I think it's a great event. It's a good. It's quite a large event too. There's a lot of different games represented there. I think there were like probably 4 different pavilions with different tabletop games. So there was a reasonable number of Legion and Armada players. There was no X Wing, interestingly, run this year.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah. There was a big room full of Warhammer and a few different traders with some gear there. And also classic Flames of War, like lots of different people, and another room of just board games. And funnily, a couple of people outside sort of having like a real life tournament with broadswords hitting each other with of like kendo style armor on. So it was a real kind of mix of people, and they had groups in there running clubs running food inside these facilities. So the whole get a drink, get some food, play the game ran very smoothly, and the venue is on the showgrounds in the outer suburbs of Brisbane, about a 20-minute Uber ride from the city. It's all pretty easy, and yeah, pretty good vibe. Everyone seems pretty chilled. So definitely, if you want to go and get a little bit of sun in April, because it was warm there.
How was the weather actually? Was it?
Yeah, it was sort of like low 20s every day. That's Celsius, not Fahrenheit. If you're not outside Australia,
for you Yanks.
So, it was certainly above freezing. Yeah, and it was certainly pleasant, and yeah,
better than Chicago, that's for sure.
It was just so definitely worth for me. Traveling in the state to do it, really simple logistically, and worth the time. Kind of felt like that was worth making the effort for. So if you're out there wondering, do you want to do it? It's not a bad time to do it, and it just happens to be a long weekend in Brisbane over that time as well. So the city was pretty chilled. In terms of the flying, I actually, because my list, just really briefly, I won't go through all the games, but I kind of took rapid reinforcements came out 2 weeks before the event. I kind of knew whatever I was taking, it was going to be, it was going to be the last of that meta. So I didn't worry too much about trying to pick something to start to build out a new theme from. So I just really, I had just painted some arcs up. And I wanted to take them, and then it was down. I tried rapid reinforcements. Rapid
launch base.
Yeah, we used rapid launch base, but I also tried a game before that with hyperspace rings, which was terrible.
Really?
So just because the positioning of it is so important, right? Your arcs, you've got to put them where get against the wrong list, and it's just a debacle as it was against Baden, right? It was just you deploy it into the wrong space, and if you're not really knocking something off its perch right there and then, if it's got any speed, that's all over, right? So you've got this one chance to make a massive alpha, and you have complete control of the alpha too, which is awesome. But if it doesn't stick, then yeah. And in the first 2 games,
let's talk about your first 2 games. Let's talk about the happy days.
So the other interesting thing I tried, because I normally fly a Ven 1, but with a Ven 2, I thought for dice control, I'm just going to try equally something funky, which I'd never done before.
Yeah.
And I put sensor team and spinals on it. So effectively,
the idea list being happening on it now. So
before you might take something on a Ven 1, you might take Ordnance Experts and maybe Link Turbo Laser Towers. Now you've got red and black dots correction. That's all you've got out the front. Here you got the rainbow, but you could blank out a black, or you could blank out a red. So the idea was with spinals, I don't care what my blank is, because I'm going to spend it to get my accuracy. So it was a way of equally, like, if any flotilla wanted in the front arc, it was in trouble. Or whatever you landed, you could just junk a dumb, one of the dice to throw in an accuracy. So was it good? It was sort of okay. Don't think I'd do it again, but there was just a bit experimental. But it worked really good against the Starhawks. So the first game was against David Thompson, who came second. That was a really good arm wrestle. I mean, I just edged him out there, really. But it was basically, we just came at each other, got into close range, and just traded shots till we both blew up, basically. It's just that I traded up Starhawk for a Venator, basically, which gave me the margin. But a classic, just knife fight, very easy to navigate. The second game amazed me actually with that squad ball, because it was taking on another Starhawk, but this one had a huge Biggs ball and with plenty of aces in there, and so what I was trying to do was take out
Big
take out a Starhawk with a really, really strong fighter screen. You think, how is that going to happen? But it happened. And that was because Ahsoka and Anakin were just executing people left, right, and center.
They just work well in a team, don't they?
Yeah, they absolutely did. Got rid of Biggs early. Okay, well, that's solved that. And then Jan, and you're just taking out all of the buffs, and now they're just lonely little X-Wings. And you start shooting them with it's just even the bombers, and they're starting to take 2 damage, and you can whiff up 4 blue dice is only going to average about 2. So and then just some flacking. So that kind of went pretty good. Day 2, obviously we've talked about the game with Baden, and then that just showed you the limitations of you got to have more than just an angry front arc. You got to have a strategy, right? So and I really just made the approach into the AEST wrong. Basically, I tried to come in through the flank to avoid the front arc, and I had thermals, which I don't normally play, and wasn't really thinking about them. I should just taken the front arc and just cancelled half the front arc and just sat there.
Yeah.
I didn't for whatever reason, because hadn't flown the list enough. Didn't really appreciate Jedgerod either, to be honest. I was gobsmacked as it arced around me at speed 3. So that was that game. I tried to chase. I realised it was all off and I was never going to chase it. So then I tried to, about turn 5, I started turning. I saw the radar and I thought, right, I'm just going to try and knock you out, because we both had advanced gunnery. So I thought I'm going to put two front arcs into the radar, and it was at full health, and it actually flew away on 1 health. So I almost got a bit of a consolation prize to just mitigate some of the loss, because I thought I'm not going to get any points here, and I got no points.
One hull with a crit as well, just missed out on the structural.
Yeah. So there was potential there, but yeah, it flew away. But yeah, and the big mistake was to fly past the Glad. Because we had advanced gunnery, it was a double points ISD. I thought I had a crack, so I just went for it and got greedy and came up well short. The last game was a game of chasey. It was against 3 MC30s who just didn't want to hang around, and a bit of a squad ball. And I was chasing them across the board. Got to turn 4. I just got impatient and unloaded everything. And basically was winning the squad war, and then made a massive mistake on forgetting about my thermal shields at a critical part in the game, and it cost me that game. So yeah, bit of a fall from grace in day 2, but yeah, it's a good kind of list. It's got potential, but I realised that it's actually a very difficult list to fly, and you've got to have a really good plan for not only getting to the target, but keeping the target there once you've decided to engage with the rapid launch bays, and it requires a lot more practice, I think.
Yeah. So David Axel was saying 3 MC30s, exactly the same. Intel officer, ordnance extras, wide air barrage, and that's it. There was no ammo or no salvation. It was just that's it. That's really interesting. I've never seen MC30s without their titles. So and then almost
the Sato as well. So it's just a lot of dice, and then it's a lot of it's just piles and piles of black dice. In a quite clever way of basically fragging things with wide area barrage and taking out really valuable assets in a way that you can do nothing about. You just particularly squads. So it's got some neat little tricks, and it's not, and close range, wide area barrage close range is a big part of the board. It's when I then lost Ahsoka to that, and then I thought I need to keep Anakin away. Trying to keep Anakin beyond close range of your ships, he's halfway across the board, completely useless. And if you don't do that, he'll get sniped and killed. So it's a really effective area denial card, more so than you think. You think it's a niche little crazy thing, but if someone's going to, he only has to take, 5 damage, 5 hits on the dice, and he can kill any 3 hull ace on the board within range, within close range of that ship, and they are generally within close range. So really nasty card, and far more effective when you see it played.
All right. So Lachlan, tell us about your experience.
Well, after the Vessel World Cup and flying the same list for 3 or 4 tournaments, I decided I'd fly something different and something without any squadrons at all. I decided if I wanted to fly either Palpatine and a bunch of intel officers, or if I wanted to try Constantine, and I gave Constantine a shot.
Bold choice. Tell us about the list.
Well,
so
I started with the Kuat. I started with the Kuat, and I really wanted some sort of boarding team or something, because otherwise it really struggles against certain matchups. So I had Vader at first, for ECMs, and then I was like, okay, I don't have a weapons team, I need rerolls. So I ended up with leading shots over point defense iron cannons in a squadless list. So that wasn't looking at in health. I turned it into an ISD one instead, following Louis Andres. So I turned the Vader into an all boarding troopers because of the Squadron 4, which also helps against like Starhawk or something, because Vader doesn't really do much against him.
Yeah.
Plus, I get Hawk. Missed the tour, but I went early warning system and point defense to slow down squadrons and with turbo laser towers.
Nice, yeah.
Maybe snipe something, but
Yeah.
rerolls at longer range.
Now, everyone scoffs at the Imperial one and says it's a waste of points or that. But Mundo did take it. So everyone knows this. So Mundo did take an Imperial one to Armada Nationals and won with it. So don't underestimate Imperial ones. They can be really nasty if you're not watching what they're doing. So yeah.
And also being able to take a second offensive slot is really good because the Phylons really help Constantine.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, the capital K, you know.
The Interdictor it's got G8 and Scramblers to slow things down, like in another angle to slow things down other than Constantine and Phylons.
Yeah.
Scramblers is to help the ISD as well once it gets in close.
Yeah.
Disposable capacitors, just a bit of extra chip damage at longer ranges. Projection experts, more help for the ISD. And Vader Officer to choke Tour or Titus on the Onager.
Onager, yep.
So the Onager has Titus, Veteran Gunners, and Ordnance Experts, and a Red Beam. Yep.
Very standard Onager, apart from Admiral Titus on there, but yeah.
Just Titus slows things down. It's basically a nav token itself, because they need a nav instead of take the token rad one.
I'm surprised you didn't put Gravwell instead of targeting scramblers. I understand the targeting scramblers, but your reasons why not Gravwell?
They can sort of deploy around it, and I have a 10-point bid for second player, which either is advanced gunnery or it was contested outpost. No, wait, hang on. It was planetary ion cannons I took with this one,
right?
And solar corona. So there were already a lot of objectives like dictate where the fight happens.
Right. Too easy.
And so somehow both the Interdictor and the ISD won 39 points.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right, and how did your games go?
Before the games, I made a joke about LTD couldn't arrive in time for the first game, and I made a joke about taking the buy so you didn't face him. Because he flies a lot of MSU and rogue balls, both of which my list doesn't like because the rogue balls can fly around the early warning system. So game one, I faced the Sato triple scouts. I didn't really have any answer to them. I won the bid and chose second. I think that's still the right choice. We played the hyperspace assault. Yes, that was the yellow. Okay, I've got 3 different yellow objectives in mind. That was it.
So good.
But I can't really catch the MC-30s, so the honor just flew away. It didn't do anything, it just flew away. And he gave up chasing like 3 rounds in. And then he just chased after the ISD. I dropped the Interdictor in too early, and he managed to get it the turn before I could have caught one of his MC-30s, which would have been my chance to get some points. Which when I looked back at my list, I realized 139 points I could have left it in hyperspace until round 6.
Yeah.
And not lost 9-2.
Well, it's the first game, you can always submarine. So, you always take the first games as, just a bit of a warm up. So that's the best thing about Armada. You're not out of it until you're out of it. So, especially in the first round, you can always come back. I've done it before several times. So, and of course, second round, who'd you get?
I thought I was going to have a comeback, but I ended up facing LTD David Grounds.
So I came and haunt you.
So I ended up facing both of the MSU rogue lists. I learned from the first round this was a pretty quick game because I can't really chase the CR90s and I can't chase them. And they Akbar, so if I try chase them, he just runs a circle around me.
Yeah, and LTD is famous for his list. He flies his. It was the Akbar CR90s. So just what 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 of them, and then GR75s, and then a full squadron ball of rogues, wasn't it? So
yeah, he likes ADAR with like Corrin and Lando.
Yeah, nasty.
So I flew my Onager away again, and I didn't deploy my interdictor because he killed the ISD really quick. And I realized if I put it down, he goes and kills it as well in my last game. So I lost 4-7, which wouldn't have been bad if I did the same the first round, I think.
That's all good.
You can sort of mitigate that.
You can.
Not where I ended up.
No. All right, so day 2. You're against
day
Adam.
2 ended up, another one of Daniel's brother, David's son. So the son of the Sato MSU player, which is really good having 2 younger players there as well, which is really nice.
Yeah, it's really good. It's always good to have younger players join in the even it was a big event, but it wasn't like a nationals or something like that. It's always good to have players join in and have the fun, especially. I presume also fun, a casual atmosphere around being in BrisCon.
Yeah, it was very fun and casual. So I basically took my red beam off the Onager this game. And we basically had just a big brawl.
Nice. So he was flying an Architons with shield experts, turbo laser reroute circuits, 2 of them. 1 Simon with Moff Gerard, expert shield techs, intensify firepower, gunnery teams. 2 Gozzies, 1 with Taskmaster Grins, Comp Neds, and Decaps. That's interesting.
He's running a remote, so.
Oh yeah, of course that makes sense.
And the Grint allows him to confire and pass the confire token for intensify.
Well, it says he's running Moff Jerry, so I don't know if that was different. I don't know if he was a different. He decided to change his list.
I can't remember. I think it might have been JJ.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all right.
But it's a lot of long range firepower with like the Simoon, the Architons, and then the Gazettis can fire like 2 dice as well at long range.
Yeah.
So we ended up having a brawl in the center, and I managed to take his Simoon out, trading my ISD. And then I just ended up with more guns at the end.
Very nice.
To just follow through and keep going.
Awesome. And that was a big win for you. That was a 10-1. So you finally got some points on the board.
Yeah.
And then finally
I found the bigger bid.
It's always a bigger bid.
So Stu had it was an interesting, because the idea behind it was in the end, he just wanted to fly.
I just saw the
TIE
bid.
Fighters. He had painted up 15 TIE Fighters and he wanted to take them. So he had an ISD2 with Sloan and SW7 Titus and proximity mines. Had an interdictor with more mines, Vader Officer, Gravwell, and the Grav Shift.
Yeah.
So he took second. We played the Station Assault. I was planning on just shooting the stations and sitting back, but he's lined up speed 3, so I sort of had to change my plan. And we ended up just fighting along one edge of the board.
Because you'd think with interdictor and grav shift, you would just pull the stations toward yourself and stay there. But fair enough.
He realized that I could sit there and shoot it, so he
shoot it back.
Forward.
Yeah. And 379 for the bid.
Yeah.
Wow, it's just crazy. It's probably the lowest I've ever seen.
Like what he had left over because he wanted to run a bunch of TIE fighters and he couldn't fit a flotilla.
Love it.
So I traded my Onager for his ISD, and I think his Onager ended up on one hull. Oh, his interdictor ended up on one hull.
They always seem
And
to,
then
don't they, Andrew?
Yeah. Always just so close. And he managed to squeak the win out with his stations.
Fair
But
enough.
PDIC did a lot against the TIE fighters. They just sat there on all sides.
Awesome. So, so that was BrisCon. So, for those who are it happens every year. So, the BrisCon, I would say, we're back next year. Who was it Phoenix Games that run the events there?
Yeah. And I think he's keen to kind of grow it. He's a shop that supports the whole range. He's certainly going to jump on board the Shatterpoint release as well. So, it could be a big Star Wars pavilion at the next one. So, be interesting, I think, even just to go along and see some of that as other games being played. It's all very close. You certainly you're right up there with your Legion brethren, literally almost bumping into them at some point. So it's all kind of densely packed in. But yeah, should be an interesting one. Depending how other things fall for next year in terms of the calendar. Certainly would recommend giving it a crack if it fits in with your budget and lifestyle.
Yeah,
a good one.
Yeah, so no, if you are in the Brisbane area next time around, if you are looking to play some Armada there, the guys up there, David and LTD will take care of you. He's on Discord and also on the main Star Wars Armada Brisbane page. And I believe they're trying to get some games up and running locally there on a Saturday. So make sure you hit up the Star Wars Armada Brisbane Facebook page or join the Discord group. Any further info from BrisCon, guys? Any final thoughts you want to add on to?
All good, mate.
It was a fun weekend. Thank you for David for letting me stay around.
Baden, any last thoughts?
Just a big thank you to the TO. He did really well. It was just a great casual weekend. Lots of fun.
Fantastic. That's awesome to hear. Right, let's get on to part 2 of this discussion tonight. And Rapid Reinforcements 2 have come out. It's been a couple of weeks. We thought let the dust settle a bit. We actually got some clarifications from AMG, that's the old stock. AMG about the cards themselves. So they actually replied back onto the rules forum. So we do have some clarification on those. So let's go to the cards themselves. Let's start off with the easy ones and then progress to the harder ones. So let's start off with Governor Price. We've already seen Governor Price. She is an Imperial officer, 7 points. So once per activation, while performing an attack against an enemy ship, you may spend 1 shield token, 1 shield from attacking hull zone to change 1 die to any result. When everyone saw this, they thought she's broken. She's going to be overpowered, OP'd. They were just a bit early on that call. But your thoughts on that, guys? Baden, I presume you love this. Are you an Imperial player? Let's start off. Are you mostly Imperial, or do you play all factions?
Definitely Imperial. Is my main. So I'm sort of moving into Gar a bit with Anakin because he sort of lets you play Gar like Imperials. But I think she's fine. I actually like seeing her on the other side of the table, especially on an Onager, because by the time I get into range of them, they've almost got no shields on the front, and it just makes it so much easier to take them out. I don't think she's overpowered like some people think. It's 1 shield doesn't sound like a steep cost until you've done it, 3 turns in a row. And then it gets a bit dodgy. Yep.
And you're going to see them a lot onto Onagers. That's probably the main one you're going to see. Andrew, your thoughts?
Yeah, look, I can understand the points cost, and I kind of think if you think about Intel Officer, 1 use per activation effectively, and how it kind of denies a token. I mean, I can kind of sense the cost point. Interestingly, I was watching an Iron Radio matchup where they had her on an ISD, and they'd also put redundant shields on it so that it regenerated the one shield required to stop with that depletion issue. So that was an interesting little nerf there. You know, a card that you'd thought, why would you? But then now that's a 15-point like capability. It's insane. So yeah, look, you know, it just makes you want to hate Onagers even more, and it just means that you know, the ability to use your evade at extreme range is just gone out the window, hasn't it? So
yeah,
if you fly MSUs, you probably really hate it. I don't know, but to the other point, to Beta's point, you know, all right, if you want to basically self-mutilate yourself before I come and attack you, go for it.
Awesome. And Relent, what do you think of price?
Really good, but niche. I'm not sure actually how much you're going to see her on an Onager, because she's really expensive, and double Onager list probably just wants the second intel officer because they really want for 2.
Yep.
I think you'll probably see them the most on like an SSD or something with like QTC.
Yep.
Get those accuracies at long range, or get double or something. You can blow up foresight or something at long range.
I've definitely had lists where I haven't really had a particular officer I wanted to take, and she's expensive, but she can be kind of good in that throw-in position. Like there's nothing worse than rolling 8 dice at a Gazanti with your Star Destroyer and getting no accuracies, and they just scatter it away. So she's a nice bit of insurance on that part.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's for me, for my Onager interdictor list, it's Intel officer out, Governor Price in. She's just, I get the whole spending of shields, but you put a token on, you get a token, engineering token on her, on the Onager, and that recovers that shield because it's engineering value free. Token does too. That's 1 shield. So there's ways to negate it. There's ways to get around it. Yeah, SSDs are going to love it, especially if you go to that higher threshold, though, the Executor 2s, when you're playing sector fleets. Governor Price is going to be worth her value for that 7 points. So I love it. It's a great card. And compared to everything, you know, other things that have been done in rapid reinforcements too, I think it's quite priced, evenly priced. So any other final thoughts before we move on?
Would Imperial people want to put it on a demo? Would it be worth that to get throw those blacks and then throw that 1 blue that goes, oh, there you go?
It's funny you say that. That was actually my build that I was bringing to BrisCon, and then Lockie told me that Rapid 2 wasn't allowed, so I had to quickly rejig at the last minute.
So Robin Nicholson saying brace plus quad turbo laser cannons, he's saying. Okay.
Right, okay. So you get your 2 reds.
Yeah. Nice. Cool. Let's move on. I think, as I said, we've seen Governor Price since Adepticon. Let's move to Volt Scarus, the other Imperial. So he's comes in TIE Interceptor. He's during the squadron phase, he cannot make non-counter attacks. He has counter 4 and swarm with a scatter and evade for 18 points. Andrew, thoughts?
I mean, 2 black, 2 blue. If you can force, you know, that to be the guy that you're forced to attack. Yeah,
he rolls the same as Marek.
Yeah. I mean, and I think the idea that you can pimp him up with other aces and other cards to just keep piling on more and more, taking that counter number up, Dengar and just keep
Dengar, Howlrunner, Instructor Goran. That's a counter of 7. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's just evil. So, yeah, I mean, the fact that he can't shoot in the squadron phase, well, you know, big deal. I mean, so what?
So you just, it's very thematic as I think, because he needs to be commanded. He needs to be told what to do. So you know, if you don't command him, it's like, well, I don't attack. So but if you attack me, I get aggressive and I hit you back. So yeah, because if if you know the character, he's from Star Wars Rebels, and he's very aggressive and he doesn't take orders quite well. So very thematic, and I like that kind of idea. Will he go past? You got your 4 races that you usually go. You got your Marek, Jendon, Vader, and then your 4th ace. Will he replace that 4th ace? That's it.
No.
Like,
No.
No, he won't. I say no. I think you're more of a kind of a like a defensive kind of fleet, like a very small fleet, like a Valen and Sienna kind of built type scenario. But he won't replace the main 4 that you put Imperial squadrons on. Thoughts there,
Also,
Aiden?
I can't ignore that.
Also,
the evade token. I can see him just getting one shot by like Anakin or something.
Yeah.
Just going to make
Rating
the same
points.
Point. No brace, and he's still only 3 hull, right? Like,
correct. Yes.
So fragile.
Yeah.
1 accuracy. You know, an X Wing could with a decent roll wipe you out in 1 hit. I just don't see it being worth the points when Sienna and Valen do the same job much better.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's just, and you don't want to put an escort on because you want him to be hit. So want to be attacked with that counter 4. So yeah, he's a bit of a liability, but I think he's going to be coming to one of those jank fleets where, like, you know, maybe you put what was the jamming barriers or something like that. So you reduce the attack dice or something like that. Something silly like that. I think it'll be fun it'll be a fun build to do, but I don't think he's going to replace any of the 4 aces, any of the top four aces for Imperials.
There's like 8 above him, I think, in priority, sadly.
Yeah, 100%. Any other thoughts before we move on from Volts? Baden, any thoughts on him? Just, yeah.
If only it wasn't an ace, like if it was just like a unique that had counter 4 and cannot like shoot during the squadron phase, make non-counters.
Yeah.
That would have been really cool, actually, like another Gamma sort of situation.
Yeah, a non-token unique, yeah, so that you can take him. Yeah, well, I don't see him getting into lists, but as I said, I presume someone's going to make a fun jank list with him. Just, you know, counter 7, just to dies from 1 X-wing and just I'll throw my 7 dice at you and try to kill you at the same time. So yeah, cool. All right, let's move on. Let's move to Wat Tambor. So we've got Wat Tambor in a Balbalab 22 Starfighter with escort, relay 1, screen, and then no special abilities. So he's just got a brace and evade for 20 points. Who wants to jump in on this one?
I'm definitely not a CIS expert, but knowing how well dodge works for the Republic, having potentially dodge 3 with a brace and an evade, like and 5 hull, he's going to be really hard to kill if people are playing him well.
Yeah, I feel like the only problem with Wat Tambor is the Wat Tambor officer. You're going to pay for that premium, where a lot of people, especially if you take your Muni or no, just Munis. I say your Munis in the Providence.
Yeah, big opportunity cost.
Yeah, you're going to have him on there. The officer version of him. So unless if you don't have those ships and you don't want Wat, then Wat Tambor would be great just with your generic Vulture droids, just to give him some escort and also just jam him up with dodge 3.
Yeah, dodge and brace is really good, and the evade as well. So you got stacking rerolls.
Yeah,
and a brace.
Yeah, and he hit. Also again 2 blues and 2 blacks, and then a black bomber. Of course, non-bomber anti-ship, still good, like an A-wing. Really good chance of getting a hit. So speed 4, 5 hull, 20 points. I say he's decent, and he's going to be the only problem is that officer slot is going to be him squadron or him officer will be the only thing that CIS will think about him But if you're not and of course if you're not taking him, well then put him in as a squadron. Him and Grievous in the both Bulba labs, I think would be really cool.
I think pairing him up with I think it's Flak Afrock, the one that damages on it when you finish an activation nearby. There's a lot of potential there, especially because he's not heavy.
Yeah.
At locking down squad balls, and that dodge 3, like that's almost as good as a scatter, and you can't accuracy it. It can't be exhausted or spent. So yeah.
You can imagine a bubble of vultures just around him all the time, and with basically then with reserve hangar base. So you're just piling in all this damage, and you're actually scoring nothing, and he's just chewing up your squads. And at the end of the day, he destroys your squad ball, and you maybe walk away with 8 points because you ran out of reserve hangar base when you finally knocked off a vulture. You know, like it's going to be blind.
Well, remember this guy, what will be escorting the vultures?
Yeah, so they'll be shooting white, but he'll just be bouncing it all back, I suppose. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
you can always just throw your vultures in a bit further on, just if they want to attack them and say, well, all right, kill that, but I'll bring him back with reserve hangar decks. And then
because basically flak will, escort doesn't protect you from flak, and they're only strength 3. So if you basically you at some point you're going to get engaged, they're all going to get shot. Yeah, probably.
And also think about CIS flak itself too. So if you have Watt and a couple of vultures and sitting behind a muni flak bubble, it's just with linked tail laser towers, you're going to have a bad day.
I am disappointed they didn't get something similar to Fen, because their biggest issue is their only great squad pushers are Providences, and they're just really not in a good spot at the moment. So I think that's still going to be the limiting factor at the end of the day, is that CIS can't push their squads effectively.
Yeah. No, fair call. All right, so that's Wat Tambor. Let's move on to Asajj Ventress. So Asajj Ventress is a CIS officer for 4 points. She's unique, and after you perform an attack targeting a ship that has 1 or more raid tokens, if the defender suffers 1 or more damage, you may remove 1 raid token and 1 command token from the defender. If you do, gain a matching command token. So the AMG rules for him is that the command token has to be exact the one you're getting from that ship there, so they have to be matching. So not the raid token, but it has to be the command token, has to be the same one. So what do we think about Asajj? Andrew?
I think really niche, but you can kind of see like one of the things that just comes to mind is on the Providence carrier, you've got Jedi Hostage, and then the weirdest thing, of course, is that if you're going to go and put raids onto your enemy ships, why are you then trying to remove them just to get a command token? It sort of seems like completely countered. Like, why put out a Dooku raid only to take it back for a token and remove the whole raid benefit? But I think the one that I think Jedi Hostage is a classic where basically your opponent self-selects how they get raided. So they're just going to pick a junk raid, which doesn't really affect them. So if they attack the Providence, that's when they get their raid. If Providence can salvo back and damage the ship, or you can just spend that junk raid to strip a command token in that same attack. So that to me is one where, I can see that's a nice little combo. But outside of that, the idea of putting like B2s onto a thing, just to go that effort to raid it, only to take it immediately away to get a token is like, well, why didn't you just bring why didn't you just bring a hard sell with Comsnet? Because it's just, it's 4 points for your Comsnet or whatever, or 4 points for her. They do the same thing. If what you're going to do is put raids and take them away, it's a bit hard to see why you would want to do that, except in that one instance. But I can imagine the other one would be maybe where you're doing like surprise attack or something like that, and there are ships that basically are going to farm a token over, and or there's some ships out there that are of, you don't care so much about the fact that you've rated everyone. I'm going to pick one of the outer ones where I don't really care that you've all got a squad raid, because and I'll steal a token off you and leverage one of my raids from that objective. So really situational.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because B2s are 7 points each, so you gotta. That's a lot just to make Asajj work, really. So Asajj and B2s are strip tokens to prevent refresh, spat, or ECM from Ghost of the Machine. He says. So there's some thoughts there. So is he just a Dooku? Asajj just Dooku only, commander only?
I think you need redundant raid already.
Yeah, so I don't think Freedom Bot's the one to go. It could work on what's it, the spider dude? Trench, that's it. Trench. I lost my train of thought. Trench might be an idea, but again, you have to generate the raids, and that will be B2s for it. So I feel like that Dooku is probably the only one, but again, CIS are such innovative faction. They'll come up with something different out of the box, and especially seeing at Worlds, CIS doing okay. They didn't get to the top 8, but doing the top 25 with Grievous, with Dooku, and not just Martuk. I think CIS players will find a way to make Asajj work. Yeah. Any other thoughts, guys, Baden? Anything else you want to add by that? Or
like I said, I'm not really a CIS player, but I think there might be a place putting her on a hard sell with B2s, just purely as disruption for the other player. Not leaning into raid as a whole, but just the fact that you can strip a token off someone, mess up their munitions resupplies on consulars and whatnot. I think there's going to be niche ways that people will find, but whether she'll be worth that officer slot, which is usually pretty valuable.
Yeah, 100%. Like, it's you got Wat Tambor, you got your
Pikes.
You've got Trickies as well. So there's certain things that take that officer slot quite well. But look, as I said, someone will figure out Asajj and work it quite well. As I said, CIS players can be very innovative of what they can and do with their faction. So, any final words before we move on from Asajj, guys?
No, I think it's covered.
Cool.
Expensive officer slot.
I wouldn't say expensive. 4 points.
4 points is very expensive when you look at like what
for what
gets you, or what tickers gets you, or
okay,
Rune Harko for 2 tokens, or get it from something else.
Yeah, okay. It might be a little bit like maybe for 2 points would have been cool, but no, fair enough. I'd say 7. Anything above 7 is expensive, but
2 points, put it on a Gazanti or something would be nice.
Yeah,
but it's 4 and that's a lot.
Cool point. Right, cool lot. All right, let's move on to the harder one. So we'll move on to Fen Rao. So Fen Rao comes to the Mandalorian Gauntlet Fighter. So for those Rebel players who don't have chimeras, start asking your Imperial friends. So when you are chosen to activate by Squadron Command, after your activation is resolved, choose up to 2 non-unique squadrons at distance 1. The chosen squads may be activated as if they were chosen by a Squadron Command. It comes with Assault, Escort, a single brace, and is 24 points. Its Squadron Fire is 2 blues and a red, and his anti-ship is a blue and a black. So we'll start off with Roland. What do you think about Fen Rao?
Really, really, really good. Like any sort of squad ball, being able to push 4 squads from a flotilla, not without a token or expanded or anything like that. Or CR90 can push 3 squadrons on its own, even with the token.
Yeah.
It's just really good. And also the way the timing works, it like sets up perfectly with like Yavaris.
Yes, and AMG has confirmed in the rules forum that it carries any abilities from the ship. So flight controllers do go proc with Fen Rao. Andrew, come on, tell us what you're thinking about.
Yeah, the thing I mean, I like him a lot, and I think to me, if I was putting a rebel list, I'd be, for the sake of like, okay, you could say, yep, okay, he gives you another 2 activation, but then so does the GR75 and gives you another ship activation. So I mean, you got to factor that in as well. For 18 points, if all you're worrying about is the activation, then that's not really the thing for me there. I think the way it extends a capability, and Yavaris particularly comes to mind here, because it's got to be on a NEB. It's only got 2 squads. The fact that this would turn it into basically 4 is powerful. That would all get that ability. But the thing that I'm just getting my head around is that basically Fen Rao needs to activate, and then these next 2 uniques need to be within distance of one of him when he's finished his activation. Yeah. So to me, you have to be in it. Yeah, got to be in it. And Yavaris has you in it, right? Because you're not choosing to move; you're just choosing to attack. Yeah. Whereas, where's the situation where Fen Rao activates, lands where he wants to land, and those 2 unactivated uniques are sitting at distance 1, just waiting for him, right? It doesn't work on an alpha.
No, it doesn't. No,
it doesn't. So flight controllers, it might be a bit more niche. But but Yavaris, it will work every time because everyone's there. That to me is what it's. Take Yavaris, take Fen Rao, and basically four, particularly bombers. So I think this is not about flight controls. I'm thinking Skirgs with this guy. Basically, him and 3 Skirgs are now dropping basically 12 dice into you. That is insane.
Nice. Yeah. Riley brought this up on our tournament on last Saturday, and he brought that Fen Rao with a Providence, and the Providence is now a serious squadron pusher with Fen Rao too. So, So Robin Nicholson says rapid launch base plus Fen. You can activate Fen nearby, bringing him up with rapid launch base squadrons. So, ideas there as well too. Braden, what do you think? Do you fly Rebels? What are your thoughts on Fen Rao?
I do fly Rebels sometimes, not very well though. But my first impression was Biggs balls got a lot more scary. If you're running Biggs, Jan, and now Fen, one, you've got a really tanky escort to be offloading damage onto.
Yeah.
And also you're getting, a Biggs ball is usually just throwing themselves onto the enemy squad ball and duking it out for the rest of the game. So Fen doesn't need to be moving around and having squads in the perfect place to activate afterwards. You just activate him and get 2 free activations in the ball.
And also chuck in Hera as well too, so he can reroll Fen's dice too.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that. He's escort with Hera, so I think I don't think the Rebels really needed it. To be honest, I think it's a pretty big buff to them overall. I just don't think it's a gap that they needed to have filled, but they've got it now, so we'll see what happens.
It's it's very, very beefy, very tanky, and as you said, Rebels already love to activate their squadrons quite well. So it's going to be very interesting what's going to happen with Fen Rao. Any final thoughts before we move on, guys? All good.
I think the other thing too is I can see Jan as being a companion with this guy with only 1 brace.
Yeah.
Basically, just to I think that's his Achilles heel as an escort.
So be Fen, Jan, Biggs, and
Hera.
Not Nora.
Hera.
Hera. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That'll be your 4. You'd say.
Yeah, you could even just leave that extra ace slot unfilled if you wanted to, and just if your ball is just there to tarp hit the other person's squads, you could just fill it with more generics and use the points elsewhere.
Really?
I was going to say, just like a lot of like generic like YTs, like rogues as well as another way to set up Fen. especially like first player. Like you can get a pretty nasty last first with rogues now.
Yeah.
That can be pushed by anything really.
Cool. Yeah. Fenwell, really good, I think. Really top-notch ad for the Rebels. Did they need it? Probably not, but again, it'll change things up for sure. All right, let's move on to Matchstick. So we have Matchstick on the BTLB Y-Wing. So he's movement of 3, hull of 6, a blue and a black anti-squadron, and a black bomber. So while you are unengaged, friendly squadrons with bomber at distance 1 gain rogue. Of course, there's the bomber keyword and heavy, and double brace for just 14 points. 14. Andrew, come on.
I love it. I think this is insane. This is I'm just going to find every way to muck up with people with this card. And I think it's got unlimited potential. I spend 44 points, 3 BTLBs plus this card, and put them wherever you like, and don't do anything. Don't just stay in around the mothership. Just go off for a merry dance. You can ignore. You can't. They're at speed 3. They can just go off by themselves and sit there and wait for, a flotilla to get out of position. A break in the traffic somewhere, and then at 44 points, they'll just come in the rogue as rogues and just do something and kill something at its worst hour when they're like, oh, you've just exhausted all your tokens. Now we'll come in. Right? It's got outrageous potential here as just a rogue ball, really cheap. It's like a hyperspace assault. Just come and empty when you least expect it. I love it. I think it's amazing.
Is it under cost for 14 points?
Of course it is. But it's about time. It's about time Republic got something like that.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, that's Republic always need to almost use all the points.
I could see him in that, arcs are too slow, but 10-point wingmen who just come with him and say, let's just go and harass that thing right now. Situational, obviously, and only you can activate 2 at a time. But you can just separate them off and say, just stay away until this thing heats up, and then turn 5 and 6, do something really catastrophic.
Yeah. Brayden, what are your thoughts on this one?
I think he's great. I think he's going to keep people honest. There's always if you're thinking about going squadless, there's always going to be that threat of a matchstick ball.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
And as Andrew was saying, it's only going to take him and 3 Y-Wings to put out some serious damage if they're left unchecked.
Is this going to kill squadronless fleets? Are you worried? Are people going to get worried taking squadronless fleets?
Someone told me when I started playing that squadrons are the most powerful thing in the game, and you either need to have them or have an answer for them. And if you've got neither, then you deserve to get shredded by these things. But if you're playing smart and you've got your ordnance pods and your flak and everything, you're going to kill them in probably 2 or 3 turns without too much hassle, I think. So, I don't think, people were talking crazy builds like Matchstick with 12 Y-Wings. I just don't see it being viable at all. Maybe for some jank, casual fun, but competitively, he's going to be really nice addition, but not overpowered at all.
Cool.
And don't lean into him too much. 14 points for double brace is fine. Just leave it at that.
Cool. Len, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'd probably take him even if he didn't have any extra fancy text. Just 14 points for 2 braces is really good.
Yeah, 100%. It's just crazy. And it just unbelievable. Yeah, I
usually see a lot of it with a lot of 134 rebel balls don't even have the 4 aces already before Matchstick even came around. You see 2 or 3, sometimes 4, but 2 and 3, and you could just fit Matchstick in.
When I played Republic, it was Anakin, Ahsoka, Axe, and Kickback. That was my 4. The Fantastic 4, and I felt that was pretty cool. But Matchstick kind of rewrites everything straight away. It's almost like saying, take these generic arcs and Y-Wings and have fun. That's what he's saying. So I yeah, like if anyone saw my match with Matchstick, and I had Matchstick, Axe, and 2 arcs. So of course the Axe to negate damage to the arcs, and then Matchstick to make them rogue, and just and I did come against a squadronless fleet, and just took a couple of ISDs down pretty quick smart with just those 4 squadrons. So yeah, it's you squadronless fleets. As Baden said, you got to have an answer to it, or you're going to have a very bad day.
The other thing too is that.
Sorry, Andrew. Go ahead, Andrew.
I was going to talk about it.
Go ahead, Lachlan. Go ahead, Lachlan.
I was going to just quick that Oddball might actually finally have some sort of use in like a screen with like Matchstick.
Yeah, 100%.
He's still 23 points.
Yeah, he's a lot of points, but Matchstick has kind of said, "Hey, we haven't forgot about you, mate." Andrew.
So the other thing it can do, and in fact, even in my last game of in Battle for Hoth, is that BTLBs are good at killing basically scatter races. Just through, you can guarantee pretty much 1 damage every attack. It's either the blue or the black will hit, and if 4 of them come in the rogue phase after there's been you've had a battle, and you've got, don't care whether it's Hellrunner or Fancy Vault or whatever, 4 of these come in rogue, and see basically you've got your scatter race with the brace and the scatter both stressed, and these 4 come in. What are you going to do? It'll be worth throwing
brace
in a couple
is useless.
Basically, brace is useless, and you can strip that scatter by saying, right, I'll just bring Matchstick just out of engagement range. I'm sending in 1 BTLB at 10 points, and I'm going to take that scatter off you. Pretty much guaranteed.
Also,
or you
put Matchstick on a rock next to them, then just roll that 1 black. So
it's going to be good to say, you know what, let's just do a bit of tidy up here. Read the board state and say, right, you 4 go and just tip the balance strategically on that ship, on that ace, and just the cheapest chips. Oh, you took out my 10-point squad, boo-hoo. I'm going to do it to you again next round. All right. So there's they don't just sit there in the big ball and get locked up, and then they come in and do a ninja attack when everyone else has had a crack. That's what they'll be able to do, and that's what they did to poor old Tycho in the last game I played. That was without Matchstick. That was just BTLBs ganging up.
Yeah.
Nice. And one guaranteed 1. What are you going to do about that? And you can only, if you only got 3 holes, you can only do that so many times.
That's it. Go ahead. Spin your scatter. Go ahead. Yeah. I totally agree. Yeah, they can chew up generic aces, scatter aces that quickly if you just gang up with Y-wings. Very nasty. And then Matchstick on top of that, being so cheap. Like for my 3rd round, I was against Clint against his Sloan Ball SSD. I lost Matchstick for against 2 interceptors, and I still won out on top. So because being interceptors being 11 points each, 22 points, I lost Matchstick. Yeah, that was a good fair trade. So that cheap, and just as Alent said, just without the text itself, a very cheap ace. So really nice. All right, let's move on to General Draven. So choose. So he's a Rebel Commander, 28 points. So choose command dials for this card after deploying fleets. At the start of each ship phase, you may reveal and discard 1 command dial from this card. If you do, until the end of the round, when an enemy ship spends a matching command dial, it resolves that dial as far as it spent a token of the same type instead. Now, AMG have ruled that a dial and a token can be spent at the same time, making them both a dial effect. All right, let's go, Andrew. What are your thoughts? I know we were backwards and forwards on this one, thinking what's happening here, what's the point, how does it go? And I kind of called it out, and what I thought was what AMG did say about it.
The only way it's ever going to make the table is if they're playing Who's the Boss, where it's randomly assigned to you. Otherwise, you'd never take it. I mean, there's literally no point to it. It's underpowered.
Unless you
crazy.
unless you're going into a event knowing that it is a full squadron ball heavy meta event, and that's
I wouldn't take it. I still wouldn't take it. I mean, it's
really?
there's just so many other better options. It doesn't even. I wouldn't even. Yeah, I wouldn't even. I can't even think of any situation. Even if it was really, really heavy squad meta, right? Because all it's saying is that your flotilla has gone from 3 activations to 2. I mean, it's just like whatever. I mean, it's nothing. It's just if you had a token and your dial, it has minimal impact. So yeah, and it's for 2 turns, right? So and then it's gone. So minimal impact. I mean, it's basically. I mean, think if you're taking a rogue ball in a squad heavy, it has absolutely no effect at all. I mean,
100%.
Yeah. So it's not like globally good against squads, and it's certainly not good in any other context. I would argue that in certain circumstances it buffs or gives advantage, or different types of advantage. And I think the Con-Fire one for me is the way this card is completely and utterly broken. It doesn't make any sense. And I would argue that it is more powerful than abilities like Adept or cards like Ordnance Experts, that you having completely independent rerolls through this token plus a token will get you the same, if not better, results than cards. And this is supposed to be a penalty. I just like you would never select. You would never like. I mean, what you wouldn't want to select Con-Fire if you were Draven. Like never. It's literally saying, I barely want to inconvenience you. If you're not selecting engineering or basically engineering or squads, why would you take? You certainly wouldn't select Nav, and you wouldn't select Con-Fire. So yeah, it's basically 2 turns of slightly diminished engineering and slightly diminished squad activations for 28 points. If it was 3 points, I'd probably take it.
Yeah. Ghost of the Machine says, like Dooku, Draven can disrupt some objectives, he says. So possibly, yeah, he could I'd say like he maybe
and mining facilities.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah. If you're trying to suck the dust clouds full on with with Wat Tambor or an interdictor, he can go, no, let's reduce that a bit. So yeah, I can see that.
I think the only way you could fix that at 28 points is where it's got 2 for the number of tokens you should be able to put 4. Then you might start to get some parity back.
Okay.
Or 6 even, maybe then. I mean,
okay, that's a hot take. Yeah,
but at 2, it's just nothing, right? Even if you're trying to stop someone scoring, objective tokens for 2 turns, it's just
I probably agree on that one. Brian, what do you think?
Yeah, I think he's treading a very fine line between being completely useless and stupidly overpowered and not fun to play against. And I really don't know.
That's an interesting line.
It's like, if they had just made it that you can't resolve the command he reveals, then you're just not playing. The opponent isn't playing Armada, and that's just not fun for anyone. Not being able to resolve dials, if they had maybe just let you spend tokens, probably would be okay.
Yeah.
It's still treading into that area of just not letting the other person play the game, which I really don't like. I feel they could have gone unique with him and maybe made him the first commander less than 20 points. Maybe he would have found a home, 10 or 15 point commander. Probably opens a lot of doors, but balancing that again is just stupidly difficult.
Yeah.
I don't see him being a popular pick at all. No, and he's nerfing commanders that are already weak, like a Thrawn. You barely see Thrawn, and if Thrawn comes up against a Draven, it just feels bad. So,
Lachlan, Lent.
I just think his card image is basically his reaction to AMG's rapid reinforcements to clarifications.
He's not amused.
It's like someone just made him a sandwich with a special brown filling.
He's more expensive than Constantine.
That's saying something, isn't it? Ghost of the Machine says, shut down nav to keep ship in a kill zone, or clutch moment to make a ship fly off the board. Well, look at Venators. For starters, they don't have the greatest of nav charts. So imagine Draven saying, no, you can't do an extra yaw.
It's, yeah, but like when Andrew said that you wouldn't do nav, I think I disagree. I think nav is the most powerful command in the game. But a nav token is also really good. And if you're targeting a ship that's going speed 3 with Draven, and they already have a token, they can go from speed 3 down to speed 1.
Yeah.
Which is something people will pay points to do, and Draven's giving it to them for free, Like,
true. Yeah, no, you definitely got a point there. Yeah, it's but yeah, you might lose out on the extra yaw, but like, okay, big whoop, I slow down to 1. I get that extra yaw on that 1 maybe, or I can just not go in there and take it easy while you've maybe spent 1 or the second one of your Draven commands, and next thing is I'm good to go. Yeah.
And look, but here's the challenge, right? You need to actually call that at the beginning of the round.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is that if honestly someone said, right, I'm going to start flying Draven competitively, well, nav team solves that problem straight away. I've now nullified it, right? And if I'm flying highly maneuverable ships, they almost all have that slot where they could put nav team on there for 4 points. Yep, 3 dial, mate, no effect. Let's keep going. Because I've got a token and I've got a dial, so I can still either change speed by 2 or I can change speed by 1 and your by 1. So nav team solves Draven right there and then for 4
card
points.
effects are still triggering, like Medine, he still gets his dial bonuses. So I think Medine completely bypasses him.
Yeah.
Krennic still gets his dial reroll and his token rerolls. Maybe they could have worded it so that you can't use card effects from commands. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just think he's a mess, and it's not going to go anywhere competitively.
Yeah. So dead on arrival, basically. So just put him. Don't print him out. Just throw him in the bin.
Well, he lived for like the few days before they came out with the clarifications, and everyone was actually screaming that he was overpowered.
Yeah. 100%. I believe. Yeah, I knew what the way they were AMG were trying to do it, and I feel that was basically not the right way to do it. But the people, some way thinking just token only, it would have been really good. But sadly, wasn't meant to be.
Anakin.
Yeah,
and squads is his probably his best, thing he's having an effect on. But Rebels have already got such good squadrons that they didn't really need that boost.
No.
It's not like Fen where it's really buffing the squads up again. He's just kind of making them a little bit better, and they don't need that help.
Yeah, cool. All right, let's move on. That's enough about General Draven. Let's hopefully someone decides to change something out of him, but we can always hope and pray for AMG to do something. But let's go to the last and final card. And of course, that is Commander Anakin Skywalker. So he's, of course, Commander 29 points. While a friendly ship performs a salvo attack, it may add 1 die to its attack pool of a color already its attack pool. Once per activation, after a friendly ship performs an attack that targets an enemy ship, that friendly ship may spend 1 salvo defense token. If it does, it may perform a salvo attack targeting the same enemy ship. Right. Where do we start with him? Andrew.
Look, I'm, clearly he's, I think someone described it, I think on the Discord that, he's become like the most, he's become the worst version of possible of what he could have been, right? So everything that could have pushed his boundaries to make him good was accepted as, yeah, you can get that, Yep. Everything that everyone thought was pushing the rules, he's allowed to do it all, and it's all now legal. So I mean, it's an amazing Gar. Christmas came early with Matchstick and Anakin, right? It's just they are one's like stupidly cheap and the other's stupidly powerful, right? So, but it's still, I think, and all the clarifications, like, you don't have to worry about burning 2 salvos, in a defensive thing. You can, if you want, you can have 1 salvo token, use it, and then use it again, spend it twice because it's outside of the X attack, and just hit someone twice if you wanted to, if you didn't want to take any of the other buffs. So on any old ship like an Acclamator or something that you're running naked, you've got this 1 super token that can just go boom, boom, just like that, right? So you can do stupidly cheap stuff with an extra dice thrown in. So, I mean, I'm working on an Anakin build at the moment. There's another card that makes him even worse, and I've actually asked for a clarification on this. Get a Venator 2, put him on it, and then put Clone Captain Zach on it, and then look at your firing arcs on this thing. That is mental, right? It is really, really powerful. It's a 360-degree gunboat with double attacks in every arc, with either 6 dice out the front, I think it's 5 out the side and 4 out the back, plus a 4-dice salvo. So if Zach becomes legal with this guy, watch out. There's literally no safe approach. Yeah. In any direction, I don't know which way you're pointing it, you can kill stuff in every arc, like in every turn. It's insane. Watch out.
Yeah. And then, of course,
Sorry,
go ahead, Andrew.
Basically, Imperials had Onagers. I've accepted that for a long time. Everyone else except now that Gar has this death machine. He just happens to be a person rather than a piece of hardware. The tables have been reset. Well, and that's all to me was what it looks like. This is just stupidly overpowered thing.
Before he was more machine.
Before he turns into a half man, half machine. Well, that's just then this is the equivalent of the arrival of the Onager, right? To me, it's got all the play on balance. It's got all of the advantage. It's Patriot Fist, right? Patriot Fist. You don't need to know how to fly. All you need to do is know how to roll. Well, this is now the equivalent. You don't have to worry about flying a Venator anymore. Put Anakin on it and Zach, and don't worry. Just keep it on the table. It doesn't matter where you put it. It's going to kill stuff.
Where do I start blasting?
So the only person now who's missing out is basically is the Rebels don't have a drop it on the table anywhere, kill anything thing yet, like Patriot, Onagers, and now this. So they need a buff.
Starhawk was
annoying. Starhawk. There you go. Let's go.
Starhawk's annoying as just put anything in the front arc and
yeah. So anyone who thinks that this is wants to throw the toys out of the cot, this is Gar's equivalent to those 3 other. Oh my God, they've brought this, right? Because no one's ever said that about Gar before. Well, now they will. Oh my God, it's another Ven 2 Anakin with Clone Captain Zach. Oh shit. Hide your flotillas, hide your MSUs. We're all dead, right? That's just it's that bad. It's that powerful.
Yeah, and I just love how AMG went the full Grogu onto the forum. Yes.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, Anakin does it all.
That's why I'm hoping they say yes with Zach, and then it's going to be like, holy dooly.
Oh, bloody hell. Yeah, Vane, what are your thoughts on Anakin?
I love him. Mainly because I'm an Imperial main, and he lets me play Gar like Imperials. Just point at them and shoot. I played a lot of games with him before they clarified, and all the different versions of him. And from those games and player feedback, we found that the salvo, his special salvo counting as an attack, one of his 2 attacks, worked well, and not being able to do the stupid double salvo that he has now.
Yeah, I never did that. But
playing him with those rules put him in a really nice spot where he was still very strong, but not oppressive to play against. But since the clarifications, I've probably played 5 games with him on TTS, and people just don't want to engage with you. Yeah, it's a tough one.
So he'll become like a farm hawk type scenario where people will run off and say, I don't want to play with you. I'll give you the 6-5 and bugger off.
I think that's a valid way that might be to play with him, is to put on farming objectives, at least fire lanes, and just sit on the tokens and make them come to you. Otherwise, you're going to farm all game. Contested's probably a bit better because we don't have strategic, but yeah, he's absolutely bonkers. He can pretty much kill medium ships. He can easily kill in one activation, and even some larges like I've taken Onegas out in one activation. It's nuts and definitely needs to be fixed.
Yeah. Robin Nicholson says Emperor Palpatine commander and intel officers or ignition attacks. Also Sloan as well, because I battled against Clint and against his Sloan SSD with advanced gunnery on there as the objective, because the other twos were not as favorable. What I decided to do, I decided to run away with Anakin and just kill his squadron. So there is stuff. Anakin's not the all and end all. I think he can be beaten. I think Palpatine commander, Palpatine officer, even also, heck, Overload Pulse can come back and start doing these kind of things. He can be hurt because once he loses those salvos, he becomes useless. So
Sloan isn't the answer that people think she is to him. Because you can run. I've got a list that I run now, which is Ven 2, Ven 1, Consular, and then about 120 points in squads. And 120 points in GAR squads is going to might not beat the Sloan Ball, but it's definitely going to tie it up for all 6 rounds.
Yeah.
And then what are you going to do about it when Anakin's on top of your Quasar or on top of your Onega and blowing it up in one activation?
Yeah. Anakin, Justin Jackson says Anakin, local fire control, and DBY. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
And the other thing is,
go ahead, Andrew.
And the other cheap defense is advanced transponder net on a pelter, and how many BTLBs you want to put between you and the front of that ship. You can basically put a wall of BTLBs at $10 a hit, and you can bring in your 16-point aces, and you can tussle with them the whole game and never land a shot on the ship. And I can do that with a 5-point card, right? That's how easy it is to stop Sloan. So yeah, I hear everyone say, "Oh, the answer's Sloan. She's the go-to to take out Anakin." Yeah, well, you haven't really thought it through. BTLBs are and cheap has, and Tranquility doesn't care if you don't have tokens. That's another point people don't really get. A Tranquility vendor does not care if you keep plinking away, and if the pelter can restore them, Marek's things, you can strip out. All you're really trying to do is take out the salvos. Other than that, you're certainly not damaging. You're not killing the ship, and the ship doesn't care if it has no tokens at all. 1 damage, all right, I'll move it over there. I'll move it over there. Tranquility's like that. Tranquility Advanced trying to put transponder net. I would be surprised. You're not going to kill the Venator. I don't know why Sloan's there, and now everyone's just moving towards your carryout. So I think people haven't. There's a bunch of counters yet to come from GAR if people go down that road, and I think the double defensive salvo is a niche part of Anakin. I think the extra 1 dice in the salvo as the second attack down the same corridor is the clutch part of the card. And I think you can justify that on a single Ven 2 build to say, yeah, I'd rather hit you twice at a time of my choosing is why I would take it and not even care. Maybe I would never defensive salvo. Just to run a single salvo, and it's sort of like build a build and swap out Bale and put in Anakin, and Anakin just he just buffs it really nicely. So I think there's more subtler ways rather than how many salvos can you throw out in a game. I don't think that's an intelligent way to use this card at all. And I'm seeing builds where people are building now flimsy gunboats that will be taken out by Sloan versus a tank that can't be taken out by Sloan that will kill anything that tries to come and take it out. It'll be I'm not going to lose the game, and then I'm also speed 3. So unlike a Hawk, if you think you can outrun a Venator, well, you better have some really quick legs, because you cannot get out of arc. There's no safe arc anymore.
No. If they have Corvettes and they have speed 4, they can run them. Then of course the Venator doesn't do well in speed 3.
You literally will own the board at speed 3, and you want to run into my
you watch Daniel. You watch the Black Admiral from Poland run his Corvettes, and he'll give you a masterclass on how he does them quite well. So if you watch of the Iron Radio Worlds and you're watching him run his Corvettes, he's a masterclass.
I think I saw that game, but the mistake the other player made is they deployed on one side of the board. If you deploy this ship in the middle of the board, there is nowhere to run, right? You just deploy in the middle of the board, go left, go right. I don't care which way you go. Half of you aren't coming on. Half of you are dead. It's that good, I suppose.
Yeah. I know you're happy.
Maybe I'm overselling it, but I can see that. Yeah, I can just see that. You need to come out with something that's just going to wallop it bad. I mean, hit it hard before it can recover. But Tranquility just absorbs so much damage.
Yeah. Well, let's hear your thoughts now.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with the slowing thing. It's yes, you take out tokens, but now you're taking out the salvo instead of the brace or something. So now you're still facing the opponent's list, except they just don't have the commander, but now you don't really have yours, and you've wasted your squadrons, and now you have less ships for them. They can just shoot up.
Yeah,
and they can probably just kill you faster now.
Yeah. No, look, people might come with a Sloan list and do quite well. You don't know. As I said, there are multiple ways to get Anakin. I believe people are just jumping up and down, thinking it's the end all and end all. But Anakin can be beaten. There is ways to beat him, and there's plenty of stuff around that that can take him down. So there's like Mon Carin also as well too can be used too to some effect. I almost got tabled from a rebel fleet against Anakin, so against MC30s. So it can be done. I think people just almost like anything that comes out too hard, too fast, people jump out to. People don't like change. They hate change. Anything that they see as a change, they'll go and start arcing and ahhing. But as Andrew said, this is their Onager. This is Republic's Onager, basically. We finally got something that is powerful, that is fun. Granted, it's not going to be the fun playing against it, but I feel like people are going to catch on to what Anakin can and can't do. And remember, Anakin needs to be on a ship with salvo. So, there's very limited ships on salvo, but also you can put reactive gunnery on, say, a Consular or a Pelter. So that can be happening there. But I think people jumping on the too hard basket too quickly.
Give it 6 months.
Also
see how the meta shifts.
Yeah.
I really shift, and I think it's like when this. Sorry, go ahead, Lachlan.
Go ahead, Lachlan.
It's there's way too much variety when people are oh, I want to build a list that counters Anakin. It's well, what is the Anakin list going to look like? This nebulous Anakin list. Is it because we see all these all-in lists with the DBYs and everything, and they're just yes, I'll go all in on this salvo and go and try and kill you. But then I think there's just going to be a lot more moderate lists that come out with the ordnance pods and LTTs again. They're just going to pop back up.
Yeah. Sorry, Andrew, go ahead.
For sure, and I think and it basically, I mean, it is to me, it's built for the Ven too, because I think you still want to take thermals for all the reasons you said, Mars. The basically the things that could potentially threaten it as it comes across the table. So an Onager will still, brass up a Venator, with his ignition shots. Everyone's saying the Onager is the answer. Well, thermals is the answer to the Onager, right? So that's why the Ven 2, I think, with Tranquility. So my builder that for me, the things the thing that, to talk to Baden's point about you need something that can take on a lot of different things. So you need to get that offensive defensive split right. So I think it's a Venator. My build thinking now is it's a Venator 2. It's got thermals. It's basically going to take a second salvo, so it's going to drop it's going to use local fire control to drop out the contain and take 2 salvos, because salvos are so integral to it. And it may never choose to defensively salvo, but by taking 2, where it becomes really great is if it's just situational change of first to last player. So if you know, for example, that you're being out-activated and someone's come into your side arc, thinking, right, like an MC30, I'm going to come in, I'm going to drop my pods, they're going to drop my basically my racks and fly away. Well, and into the side arc onto a Venator, normally that would be probably, first, last, I've got you. Well, now, if you've got 2 salvos, you can say, if you come in, dude, I'm hitting you twice before you get out.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do that after your shot. I'm going to tranquility most of that away. And now they're thinking, do I even want to go in now? And that's where I think it becomes a build that says it's what it threatens, what it will threaten to do rather than what it actually does. And then you might find, someone says, I'm not going to do that demo run. I'm not going to do that foresight run because it may end really badly for me. And even if I think I'm going to sneak around the back arc, well, the back arc could still kill me on its next attack at long range with flat guns. It's really got this ability to deal with that. And if Zach is made legal, it's just like fantastic. It's like you've got 270-degree firing arc that I'm really comfortable with. Yeah. And my worst arc can throw 4 dice at you, followed by another 4 dice at you as my worst shot of the game. Right? That's a really great shit. And you only need 1. And with Anakin, you don't have to have 4 or 5 salvo boats to say, hey, look, we're Anakin, right? That is like, and I think the alternative would be to put Bale on that ship and go, yeah, okay, I'm a hell of a lot more survivable, but look how much offensive firepower I just dropped. Yeah. And Bale is really like, can turn that one Venator into a fortress. Well, he turns it into basically a gunboat, a really effective one. And I think, to me, that's how you use him. He's, give him a death ship, and that there is no safe approach to. But chuck in thermals. Don't waste that to put on reactive.
Remember, you use thermals too, Andrew. Though.
Yeah, well, that's right. You have to remember to use it. But to me, that's it. This whole reactive gunnery thing, I think, is a dumb move to get an extra offensive salvo that you don't need.
It seems great until you come up against the first Onager and they smack you for 10 damage. Then you just feel silly.
Yeah.
I did that.
With thermals?
No, without thermals. I tried reactive gunnery and flight controllers. Yeah. And I think now I would take thermals and still probably flight controllers, but not having thermals opens you up to so many threats, in particular Onagers, that it's just not worth it for the chance of an extra salvo.
So I had 2 Ven 1s, one with take evasive action and one with intensify firepower. And of course both with DBY, local fire control and flak guns, just go pew 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 pew. And they basically they take all these crits and they just die. I got that 1 crit, the first game I was playing, I got that 1 crit you could only attack once per round, and that was like, well, that's it. That's Anakin's gone from that ship. So that's the one that 1 crit that you just don't want to get, and you get it all the time. So it was a fun list, but again, you're quite right. You just worry about not having thermals, not having that defensive tech for that one big wallop, especially with an Onager coming along and knocking the Venator. And Venators can be quite fragile if they don't have defensive tech. Cool. All right. Any final words before we wrap it up tonight with Anakin? No? All right.
You can always run if you're speed 4.
Yeah. All right.
I remember speed 4 was it?
Yeah.
Not speed 3 though.
All right, guys. That's it for tonight. Thank you so much for joining. That's thank you so much for your comments on YouTube tonight. We'll be back with more Armada action on Thursday night. Hopefully, I wasn't there last week due to numbers, but we'll see what we can round up this week. A big thanks to Andrew, Relent, and War Daddy Braden for coming along. Thank you so much for joining this evening and discussing your experiences at BrisCon and Rapid Reinforcements too. So any final words before we wrap up, Andrew?
Just remember everybody else that the International Team Championship will be kicking off probably next month. And, to the Aussies and Kiwis out there, let's try and double the number of teams. We had 2 teams in last year. Let's go for 4.
Yeah.
And obviously all those people in our time zone and friends like our who are nearby, hit us up, join the teams. Let's get out there and let's just see this kind of carnage of these new cards, because there's going to be some fantastic builds in ITC. You're going to see so many bizarre variants of these cards. So it'd be one to play in, I reckon. You'll learn a lot from the meta in it.
Relent, final words.
Draven is sad. Anakin is very happy. Well, there is the thing that you cannot take Anakin's squadron with him, but
yes, true. You do pay that tax, but I think Matchstick says I'll take that Void, mate. It's all good. And Brad, any last words?
Just that I'd probably be patient with the rapid reinforcements too. Let it run its course. If we just every time something new comes out, if we nerfed it into the ground, then nothing ever changes. So give it a few months, see what happens, and then we'll
Awesome. And also just a quick update for those guys. Trans-Tasman is coming up shortly. I've decided to make it in July sometime, so stay tuned for that. Further details will come up very shortly. I'm just playing some couple of things here and there, but I have moved it to July just to get that out of the way if anything like store champs or regionals do come. So stay tuned for that. All right, that's it for tonight, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this discussion. And thank you to my guests who joined me tonight. It's almost 2 hours now, so I think we'll wrap it up. Until next time, remember, like, subscribe, follow us on the socials, and fly casual.